Okay, let's get into it. First up, an incident that, well, it's caused quite a stir, and rightly so. Touches on animal welfare, social media, the whole mix. We're talking about Anastasia Luchkina. She's a 24-year-old Russian pro boxer, and she filmed herself. Actually, filmed and shared a video of an endangered orangutan taking a hit from her vape pen.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. This happened at the Tigan Safari Park in Crimea, and as you can guess, the video went viral for all the wrong reasons.
And the immediate impact on the orangutan, Dana, it's really disturbing. After this happened, her behavior just completely changed.
Oh.
She lost her appetite, stopped interacting with the other orangutans, just lying motionless day after day. The vets there are seriously worried. They actually fear she might have swallowed the whole e-cig cartridge.
The entire thing.
Oh, man. Yeah. And think about the chemicals in that.
Mm-hmm.
For an endangered animal, it could be devastating. Fatal, even. This isn't just some dumb online stunt. It's a direct threat to this animal's life, the precious life.
And the public reaction. Furious. Absolutely furious. People online, globally, calling for serious consequences. Even the Russian Boxing Federation, her professional body, they condemned it immediately. No hesitation.
Good. As they should.
Right. And the consequences are already piling up. She's looking at a potentially huge fine, a lifetime ban from that park, and expulsion from her boxing club, which for a pro athlete, that could basically end her career right there.
It really could. A career potentially shattered over one incredibly stupid, cruel act.
Shows how fast things can unravel online.
It does. And what's fascinating in a grim way is how fast social media spreads this stuff, how it can mobilize global opinion almost instantly. A short video triggers this massive outcry, demands for action all within hours.
Yeah, the speed is incredible.
It highlights the power of these platforms, right, for good and bad, organizing outrage, forcing accountability. But it also throws a spotlight on ethical responsibility, especially for people with a public profile, like an athlete. There's this growing expectation, almost a duty, to respect animal welfare, especially endangered species. Seems obvious, but clearly, chasing online fame can blind people to basic decency and the consequences.
Yeah, a very harsh lesson playing out in real time. That line between digital freedom and just basic ethical sense. Okay, let's pivot now. From individual actions to bigger corporate moves, tech and gaming world specifically. Microsoft made a pretty major announcement about Xbox and some real shockwaves through the gaming community.
Yeah, I saw that. Not good news.
No, they confirmed they're closing the Xbox studio called The Initiative. And along with that, they canceled that game a lot of people were waiting for, Perfect Dark.
Right, the reboot. Highly anticipated.
Exactly. And that wasn't all. They also canceled Everwild from Rare, another big one fans were excited about. Just gone. Left a lot of people pretty upset.
And these kinds of things, the studio closures, the cancellations, they're not really happening in a vacuum, especially not at Microsoft right now. It's part of this much broader strategy shift you're seeing across tech. Microsoft's been doing significant layoffs, remember, around 9,000 employees across the board.
Right, that was huge.
Yeah, and the gaming division got hit noticeably hard in that. So shutting down studios, canceling big projects like Perfect Dark, Everwild. It's framed as, economic adjustments, reevaluating projects. Basically, they're trying to optimize resources, boost efficiency because of, economic pressures.
Standard corporate speak for cutting costs.
Pretty much. It means projects seen as underperforming or maybe just too expensive, too risky.
Yeah.
They get the axe. And that, unfortunately, leads to staff cuts. It's a calculated move, painful, but aimed at streamlining things, maybe shifting focus to stuff like subscription services, more predictable money.
And the reaction from gamers online. Predictably not happy.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah. Explosive is a good word for it.
Closing a studio like The Initiative, canceling games people have been hearing about for years. It sparks real backlash.
Because for the fans, these aren't just lines on a spreadsheet, right?
Yeah.
These are worlds, characters, experiences they're invested in. And for the developers, imagine pouring years of your life, your creativity into something.
Yeah.
And then it just gets canceled. It creates real disappointment, frustration, even a sense of betrayal sometimes among the fans.
You can definitely see that online.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, it shows that constant tension, doesn't it, between big corporations wanting innovation, wanting those groundbreaking hits, and the relentless pressure of the bottom line, market demands, keeping shareholders happy. Efficiency.
Always comes back to efficiency.
It does. And this cycle, rapid expansion when things look good, maybe fueled by ambition, then sharp cuts, cancellations when the economy tightens. It has real consequences. It's tough on fans, obviously. But think about the development teams.
Must be incredibly demoralizing.
Hugely. Pouring your heart and soul into a project for years, maybe nearing the finish line, and then poof, gone. It affects morale, talent retention, makes people less likely to take big creative risks next time, maybe.
That's a real concern.
Yeah, there's a risk that this constant push for efficiency, for predictable results, actually stifles the kind of bold creativity that leads to the really amazing games in the first place.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What great ideas are getting shelved? How does this whole cycle impact innovation, the talent, and ultimately what you get to play as a consumer? It's always shifting under our feet. All right, let's shift again. Different kind of event entirely, an immediate emergency. Right here in the States, there was a small plane crash, happened near Cross Keys Airport. That's in Monroe Township, Gloucester County, New Jersey.
Oh, wow, okay.
And this wasn't just like a two-seater. This plane was carrying 14 passengers. That's a lot for a plane described as small.
14? Yeah, that is significant.
And the impact, well, multiple injuries reported. At least 5 people critically injured, which is just deeply alarming.
That's terrible news. How was the response?
From all accounts, incredibly swift and coordinated. A textbook example, really.
Good to hear.
Yeah. Emergency services were on scene almost immediately. They deployed 5 helicopters.
5? Wow.
Yeah, crucial for getting the critically injured out fast, straight to trauma centers. It's a real testament to the training, the preparedness of our first responders.
Absolutely vital in that kind of situation.
And on top of the injuries, they also had to manage a jet fuel spill, about 50 gallons.
Right. That's an environmental issue and a fire risk. Needs immediate containment.
Exactly. So they're handling multiple crises at once. Preliminary reports suggest it happened shortly after takeoff. The FAA and NTSB are investigating, of course, but early signs might point to mechanical failure.
That's often the case with takeoff incidents. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, local authorities secured the scene, dealing with the environmental side, while hospitals are treating the injured.
That kind of multi-agency response. Ground crews, air support, medical teams. The precision required is incredible. It absolutely saves lives. Prevented something potentially much worse.
It really does underscore how critical these emergencies are, the coordination needed.
Yeah.
Just amazing when you think about it. Every second counts.
It does. And it brings up the whole system of aviation safety, the layers of protocols, response plans. They're there to protect the public. We kind of take air travel for granted sometimes, don't we? Just get on the plane. But there's so much unseen work, rigorous checks, air traffic control, and then this kind of immediate, decisive emergency response when things go wrong. The fact that a plane with 14 people crashes and responders can get in there, save lives, transport the critical cases so quickly, it shows the resilience that's built into the system, a crucial shield.
Okay, let's shift gears now to something impacting every single American taxpayer directly. Government spending. Efficiency, or lack thereof sometimes. We've seen a pretty significant move from the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, an initiative aimed at streamlining how the federal government operates.
Right, focused on cutting waste.
Exactly. And get this, in just the last 4 days, federal agencies under their review terminated 256 contracts. Contracts deemed wasteful.
256
Yeah.
in 4 days. That's aggressive.
It is, and this isn't pocket change. These contracts had a total ceiling value at the maximum they could have cost of $14.3 billion.
Billion with a B. Wow.
Yep. And terminating them is projected to save taxpayers $11.5 billion. Real savings.
$11.5 billion. That's substantial. What kind of contracts are we talking about? What's considered wasteful?
Good question. Let's look at a couple of examples they highlighted.
Okay.
One was an $850,000 USII contract, professional services, for a resilience advisor in Somalia.
We're a resilience advisor for $850,000
Right.
in Somalia.
That's what it says. Now, okay, resilience sounds nice, but $850 for an advisor raises questions about necessity, effectiveness, taxpayer value.
You have to wonder what tangible benefit that actually delivered for that kind of money. Seems questionable.
Another example, a $198,000 GSA consulting contract for business process analysis and business improvement.
Almost $200 for basically internal management consulting.
Seems like it. Again, process improvement is good, but nearly $200,000. Couldn't that be handled in-house? How carefully was that contract vetted?
Right. These examples, they suggest a pattern, maybe, where taxpayer dollars were being spent without, let's say, maximum fiscal prudence, questionable value for cost.
And the rationale for cutting them is simple. Streamline operations, stop wasting money, and redirect those funds, taxpayer funds, to actual priorities for Americans, making sure every dollar collected from hardworking people is used responsibly, not just thrown at projects that don't deliver. It sends a message.
A strong message.
Right.
And what's really key here, I think, is how this aims to improve fiscal responsibility, yes, but also rebuild public trust.
That's huge.
It is. Because when taxpayers see money going to things like, an $850,000 advisor contract, trust in government takes a hit, naturally. So by cutting these contracts so aggressively, DOGE is signaling a real commitment to fiscal discipline. It's saying, we're watching the store now.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests a shift. Every federal dollar needs to show tangible value, not just spend because it was budgeted. It's a challenge to that old way of thinking, maybe the end of just unchecked spending. Accountability is key.
And here's where it gets really interesting for you as a taxpayer. What does cutting this much waste this quickly tell us about how things were operating? And what does it mean for future spending?
Suggests there's probably a lot more work to do ensuring our money is spent wisely.
All right, let's turn now to the State Department. A significant change there related to national identity, how America presents itself globally. Secretary Marco Rubio made an announcement. The Department of State is getting rid of all its random different logos. You know how agencies tend to collect them?
Oh, yeah, logo creep. Happens everywhere.
Exactly. Well, they're all going and being replaced by one single clear image, a simple American flag. And underneath it reads, provided by the United States of America, period.
Wow, okay. That's a statement. Very clear.
Very clear.
And this is explicitly part of that America First rebranding effort, right? That's how Fox reported it. The goal seems pretty straightforward. Unify the State Department's identity under one single patriotic symbol. No confusion.
Right.
The aim seems to be emphasizing national pride, streamlining the message so everyone knows who is providing aid or making statements, and reinforcing American leadership globally. Get rid of all the clutter, all the different agency logos, just the flag.
Yeah.
Makes it absolutely clear. This comes from the USA. It's about unity, clarity of purpose in foreign policy.
And the symbolic significance of that.
Yeah.
It's pretty profound, isn't it? Visual identity matters hugely on the world stage.
Absolutely.
Diplomacy, foreign policy, every detail sends a message. An emblem, a logo. It all communicates something. So switching to just the flag, with that specific wording, provided by the United States of America, it's not just branding. It feels like a statement of purpose.
It does.
A clear articulation of national identity. It speaks to wanting coherence, strength, a sharp national focus in how we deal with the world, projecting a singular American will.
So if we connect that to the bigger picture, what message does this send globally about our priorities, our approach? It definitely signals a strong focus on American interests, absolute clarity in diplomatic messaging, no ambiguity. It emphasizes that our foreign policy, no matter which part of state is involved, is an expression of the United States as a whole, one unified, unmistakable image of American strength and resolve.
Yeah, less a logo change, more strategic communication. Commitment to our national identity on the world stage. Okay, finally today, let's wrap with a cautionary tale. Comes from the startup world, often dynamic, sometimes dicey. Highlights some real challenges around ethics, especially with remote work being so common now.
Okay, what happened?
Suhail Doshi, you might know him, founded Playground AI. Former CEO of Mixpanel, he publicly accused someone, an individual named Soham Parekh. The accusation that Parekh is working at 3 or 4 startups at the same time.
Wow. Juggling multiple full-time startup jobs.
Apparently. And specifically targeting companies coming out of Y Combinator, the big incubator. Preying on them, Doshi said.
YC companies, huh? Interesting target.
And the core claim, Parekh's resume, his whole CV, largely fabricated, made up.
Oh, that's serious. Not just overpromising, but actual fabrication.
Exactly. And Doshi wasn't just repeating rumors. He shared his own direct experience.
He worked with this guy.
Briefly. Doshi actually fired Parekh during his first week after figuring out the deception.
First week. Okay, so he caught on quick.
Yeah. And Doshi said he tried to counsel the guy back then. Told him to stop lying, stop scamming people.
And did he stop?
Doesn't sound like it. Doshi said a year later, he ended up confirming the same pattern of behavior with several other companies that Parekh had apparently targeted.
So a confirmed pattern of deceit. That's really damaging in the startup world where trust is everything.
Exactly. Which raises these big questions about ethics, especially now with so much remote work. How do companies, especially smaller startups without huge HR departments, properly vet people they might never meet in person?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
The challenges of checking backgrounds, confirming experience, just building basic trust when your team is spread out. This case really throws that into sharp relief.
It does.
It's a reminder, right? Remote work is great for flexibility, for talent access, but it demands extra vigilance against people looking to exploit that trust.
Precisely, and it hits that fundamental issue. Trust in the remote work era. What does it mean? How do you build it? How do you protect it? In a startup, every person counts.